Then I will call the meeting of the Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation Board to order. For the record, in accordance with Governor Walz's Executive Order 20-01, and due to the COVID-19 pandemic, today's meeting is by Zoom and is being live streamed through YouTube as authorized by Minnesota Statute 13D.021. Access to view the meeting will be posted on the agency's website, min.gov/IRRB. With that, Lorene, will you take the roll?
Yes, Senator Bach,
Here.
Representative Eklund,
Here.
Senator Eichhorn,
Here.
Representative Lehman,
Here.
Representative Lisgard,
Here.
Representative Luick,
Here.
Senator Rude,
Here.
Representative Sandsted,
Here.
Senator Tomasoni.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you, Lorene. Item number 3 on the agenda, approval of the minutes from March 18th, 2020. Everybody's had a chance to look at them in the packets and online. Any discussion on the minutes? And please bear with me. I'm not used to the little hand thing, so if anybody has anything I don't know, but I don't see any discussion. So motion by Representative Luick, seconded by Senator Eichhorn to approve the minutes from March 18th, 2020. Any further discussion? Lorraine, will you please take the roll?
Senator Bach,
Yes.
Representative Eklund,
Yes.
Senator Eichhorn,
Yes.
Representative Lehman,
Yes.
Representative Lisgard,
Yes.
Representative Luick,
Yes.
Senator Rude,
Yes.
Representative Sandsted,
Yes.
Senator Tomasoni.
Yes.
We've got 9 yeses.
Thank you, Lorraine. Minutes are approved. Item number 4, Commissioner's comments. Commissioner Phillips.
I was muted, I'm sorry. I don't have a lot, but I just wanted to fill the board in on things that are going on around the agency. And so the majority of the staff of the agency have been working from home. We obviously have building maintenance and things like that, but we've been teleworking for quite some time, since the middle of March. And I have to say it's worked quite well. We've been managing to operate all the programs and make loans and grants and you name it. We've done it with a distance. So, and I think that's going to continue for a while. You know, we have the HVAC project coming up in June that we discussed at our last board meeting. I believe we approved the second phase of funding for that. And we can get we got better pricing if we vacate the building rather than move around the building, and a better schedule as well. So we chose that route because we were teleworking. We originally were going to move. We had a place we were going to lease for a brief period of time. And obviously that wasn't going to work out with the pandemic. So we decided to stay with telework. We actually got official permission to close the building from MMB, and now the headquarters is temporarily in Chisholm at our Mineland Reclamation Building, and we do have some staff operating out of there. Our legal and a few other people are occupying the Chisholm building. So we have a receptionist there, and we're going to get our mail there and deliveries and things like that. So it'll be closed. We'll probably be there until mid-October, something like that. That's the schedule that we're on right now. I also notice on the agenda, I just want you to be aware that we have two, what I would call response to COVID loan programs, one and a grant program to communities. And this was a direct response to the feedback we've been getting from businesses that there are some businesses that fall between the cracks of all the federal and state programs. We still want to take advantage of all those federal and state dollars if we possibly can, but there still appears to be quite a bit of demand for additional lending, and we put a lot of time and effort of thinking through these guidelines. So Matt will go through those with you later. I also want to, I think we informed the board through my weekly updates or bi-weekly updates that we made two loans, one in the interim between meetings, and one was with Moss Naturally that has an operation in Chisholm, and they take sphagnum moss and they make water purification products from using sphagnum moss that's harvested locally, and they employ quite a few people, and this is an expansion of that business in Chisholm. And then the other one is Ruth's Vegetarian Gourmet, and this is a new business that's starting in Two Harbors. Very mature entrepreneur who's had some success in some other businesses, opening a vegetarian frozen entree business in Two Harbors. And we made a direct loan to that business as well. The other thing I want to keep you up to date on is that we've been undergoing a total and complete financial audit by the legislative auditor. If you recall, in 2015, I believe, the legislative auditor did a program evaluation of the agency. We hadn't had a financial audit since 2009, I believe. And so they've been here since March, and I believe they're going to wrap up before the end of July with all their field work. And then we hope to see a draft of their report by the end of August. We'll find out what recommendations they have. So far, I believe the staff has indicated to me that it's gone fairly well as far as getting them the information that they want. And then I'm going to turn it over now to Bob Scuffy. Bob will explain the amendment. We have a budget amendment for this year's budget, FY20 budget. We had some public works projects, and we had some budgets that weren't totally spent. So we're trying to move some money from, I believe, a trails budget to the public works budget so we can complete the projects that we have on the agenda. So Bob Scuffy, would you explain this to the board?
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Scuffy.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Resolution 20-025 has two components. What we're doing is we are taking the balance now. We do have a few trail projects on the agenda today, but this would be the remaining balance left of their budget. We want to use that 679,029 and transfer to the Public Works DJJ so we can do more projects for Public Works out of there. So that's the first component. And then the second component would be to transfer $350 from the TEPF Public Work budget to fund a film production incentive program. So basically that's what the two amendments would be for.
I'd stand for any questions on this, but basically there's no new money being appropriated from carry forward or anything like that. This is just moving things around within our existing budget. So,
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? Mr. Chair? Rob? He's probably muted. Okay, Mark, can you hear me?
I'm on now, Lorraine. I had to get off the computer. I dropped. So is
Oh.
Mr. Scuffy,
Okay.
so I just called in on the phone.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead, Sandy. This Representative Lehman. This will be a little bit more cumbersome now, but we'll get through it. Thank you, Representative Lehman.
Okay, I'm just wondering if Lorraine could possibly, is it possible to put the resolutions under consideration on the screen so we can view the resolution as we're discussing it? Is that possible?
Yes, it is. I will do that. It just gonna take a little bit taking out and bringing back up, but I'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
Is this yours?
Yeah. That's all right.
There, can you all see that?
Yes. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, if you need someone to move the resolution, I'll move the resolution.
Sorry about that. I was muted. I move, or Senator Tomassoni moves resolution 20-025, seconded by Representative Lehman. Is there any further discussion? I'll give it a couple minutes. Hearing none or seeing none, Lorraine, will you please take the roll?
Senator Bach,
Yes.
Representative Eklund,
Yes.
Senator Icorn,
Yes.
Representative Lehman, Representative Lehman,
Yes, thank you.
Representative Lislegard,
Yes.
Representative Luick,
Aye.
Senator Ruud,
Yes.
Representative Sandsted,
Yes.
Senator Tomassoni.
Yes.
We have 9 yeses.
Resolution 20-025 has passed. Thanks, Lorraine. Next up on the agenda, item 5, FY20 Development Community and Broadband Infrastructure Projects, Resolution 20-026. I have staff presenting Mr. Schoberg, Mr. Ismail, and Ms. Ridlin. I don't know who's going first.
Mr. Chair, Chris Ishmael will present the community and development infrastructure projects, and Whitney Ridlin will do the broadband.
Thank you. Mr. Ismail.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I have 10 FY20 development infrastructure projects for your review and recommendation today. Of those 10, 3 of those projects are development infrastructure tied to new development, 6 are community infrastructure, and 1 would be broadband infrastructure, which my colleague Whitney Ridlon will present on.
Please proceed, Mr. Ismail.
There's also 1 grant amendment request for review. Total project investment by our agency would be $2,184,900. Total in project investment, $51,237,796 for a leverage of $1 of agency monies to 22 outside sources. First project for review, City of Aurora, grant request $135,000. The project consists of structural reinforcement to a public building. The Aurora Housing Redevelopment Authority is making rehabilitative modifications to a commercial building which houses 3 tenants to include the area food shelf. The building will be housing a new tenant, which will be providing an essential service to the East Range. Range Meats, Aurora Market, will provide meats and grocery product in Aurora and the surrounding communities. The structural modifications are necessary to support the new business. The project is expected to create 10 construction jobs and 14 permanent jobs. Second project for review, City of Big Fork. Grant amount requested $99,900. The project consists of the reconstruction of Ash Street and Rahala Mill roads to accommodate 10-ton trucks that travel to Rahala Mill. These roads are parallel east-west roadways that connect Rahala Mill to the main street in City of Big Fork. These streets are highly degraded, these roads, and need to be built to 10-ton capacity for the logging trucks for Rahala Mill. Consequently, these roads, they've deterred any new development within the City of Big Fork. And just outside, there are some properties outside of Rahala Mill that are available for commercial development and have had folks approach the city for those opportunities, but that road is in such ill repair, you couldn't access those properties. So this will increase the commercial development opportunities there for these properties to be sold. This project is expected to create 7 construction jobs and 5 permanent jobs. City of Chisholm, $300,000 request. Project consists of infrastructure and site work for a new assisted living facility in the City of Chisholm. Aspen Grove Assisted Living will be expanding their services by constructing a new 13,000 square foot facility, assisted living facility located next to Delta Airlines. The facility would provide housing and care for 30 residents. The project is expected to create 17 construction jobs and 30 permanent jobs. Community infrastructure projects, City of Biwabic, $250,000 request. Project consists of phase 2 total road reconstruction and utility replacement of a segment of Highway 135 to include Main Street through Biwabic in coordination with MnDOT. Project will cover 3 phases and end in the fall of 2021. The phases of road reconstruction are comprised of driving surfaces and sidewalks, curb and gutter, and parking lanes. Sanitary sewer, water, and storm sewer systems will be repaired or replaced, and the electrical system will be repaired and upgraded to ensure adequate street lighting for driver and pedestrian safety. Project is expected to create 18 construction jobs. Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa. Grant request amount $250,000. The project consists of a new water source, tower, and treatment facility to meet drinking water standards and provide a level of fire flows to service the communities of Mahnomen and Brookston. The first phase of the project will encompass the construction of a water tower storage tank. This will be followed by the construction of a new water line and treatment facility. The current water system has been cited as non-compliant with the United States Environmental Protection Agency. The project is expected to create 9 construction jobs. City of Grand Rapids. Grant request amount $50,000. Project consists of a new broadcast plant, which is in critical need of replacement for Northern Community Radio's KAXE. The transmitter is 30 years old, obsolete, not of production. The current tower has been structurally assessed and is at risk of falling. KXE is a community-based public radio broadcast service provider. KXE provides emergency alert services for inclement weather, natural disasters, child abductions, evacuations, law enforcement, announcements, and shelter-in-place warnings in northeastern Minnesota. Project is expected to create 6 construction jobs. Lake County. Project consists of it's a grant request for $125,000, and the project consists of ADA accessibility compliance site upgrades for Veterans on the Lake in St. Louis and Lake counties. Veterans on the Lake is a 501c3 nonprofit organization which serves disabled American veterans and others with physical and mental disabilities. Parking lots, pathways, docks, and the roadway will be upgraded to allow barrier-free access, including below-grade work, paving, and dock renovation. Upgrades to cabins and the lodge will include widening of doors, building new accessibility ramps, adding grab bars, walk-in showers and bathtubs, upgrading flooring, closets, automatic doors, handles, accessible kitchens, as well as energy improvements, including windows, roofing, insulation, and heating. plant infrastructure. Other upgrades will concentrate on water and sewer infrastructure and researching the possibility of installing solar modules to reduce operating costs. Some cabins will be raised and replaced. The project is expected to create 5 construction jobs. City of Silver Bay, grant request amount $225,000. Project consists of street reconstruction and infrastructure for a drop-off safe zone and parking area for the new child care center, which will be located at the William M. Kelly School in Silver Bay. Grant funds will be used for the infrastructure improvements, including excavation, fill, asphalt, sidewalk, storm sewer, lighting, and landscaping. The regional community has some of the lowest childcare availability in the state, and this has had a major impact on area businesses with regard to retaining and capturing the workforce. The new facility is vital to addressing the childcare and workforce crisis in Silver Bay. Project is expected to create 3 construction jobs and 8 permanent jobs. City of Virginia. Project consists of infrastructure for the construction of the new Miners Events and Convention Center. The original Miners Memorial Complex was constructed in 1957, from 1957 to 1959 at a cost of $1.2 million. It was originally built as a basketball arena. In 1961, sheets of ice were added and the facility was converted to house an ice arena. In addition to an ice arena, the Miners Memorial Complex has acted as a regional hub of activity by hosting numerous weddings, concerts, and large-scale events, such as car shows, spaghetti feeds, live auctions, labor rallies, and the circus over the last 60 years. The building has supported many types of events over the years, with an average of 30 events scheduled at the Miners Memorial Complex annually. The plumbing, heating, ventilation, controls, electrical, lighting systems, and kitchen equipment are original to the facility. At 53 years old, many of these items have outlived their useful life. Technology, industrial regulations, and innovations in the industry have made repairs to these antiquated systems time-consuming and costly. The desired impact of this project is to increase the economic growth for the city and the region by offering a new venue and event services not currently available in this area. These enhanced services and offerings will be made possible through the construction of a 144,000 square foot event and convention center, along with major site improvements and amenities. The project will add economic diversification to the region and further solidify the area as a destination spot. The project is expected to create 252 construction jobs. I'll turn it over to Whitney Ridlon for the broadband infrastructure.
Thank you, Representative Eklund and board members. Today before you is a request by the Township of Morris in the amount of $150,000. The project consists of the expansion of a fixed wireless broadband network serving up to 350 unserved and underserved households, including 10 resorts in the area of Burnside Lake, Little Long Lake, and Wolf Lake in Morris Township. The total project cost is $450,000, with private and township funds making up the difference. The project is capable of speeds that will meet the state of Minnesota 2026 speed goal of 100 megabytes per second down and 20 megabytes per second up. Construction will begin immediately upon securing permitting and contractors, with service to customers beginning as early as July 2020.
And the final piece for review would be a grant amendment request from the City of Aurora. Original grant amount was $150,000. The additional funds requested are $100,000. On December 19, 2019, the board recommended the approval of a grant to the City of Aurora for $150,000 for upgrades and replacement to the anaerobic digestive system of the city's wastewater treatment facility. The system failed in November 2018 when the primary digester experienced overpressurization and the cover was lifted from the structure, causing structural damage to the cover and tank. The City of Aurora is requesting additional infrastructure grant funds due to the bids coming in higher in the engineering estimates and the loss of another source of funding on the project. We'll entertain any questions at this time.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I've got my
Thank
hand
you.
up. I don't know if you can see that.
I'm back on, Senator Bach. So Senator Bach, go ahead. I couldn't see it, but go ahead.
Well, Mr. Ismail, I have a question on the water tower for the Fond du Lac band. What's the physical location of the water tower?
Yes, Senator, Mr. Chair, Senator Bach. Lorene, if you could you drop the agenda or the board packet from the screen? Thank you. 1 second. Mr. Chair, Senator Bach, I've put up a map here for your review. This community, one of the 2 communities being served by this water treatment facility and new water tower would be Monoman, which is well within our service area, being that it's in St. Louis County and it meets the borders and the requirements. And they would be just east of Brookston. You can see Brookston Road off on your the left of the screen there.
So, Mr. Ismail, where is physically the tower located on this map I'm looking at?
Physically, the tower is located, if you look at the square that encompasses it, the bottom left-hand corner, there's an icon there, kind of an aqua colored icon. That's where it would be located, is my understanding.
Senator Bach.
And why, Mr. Ismail, why is the grant going to the Fond du Lac Band rather than to the township? Do they not have a local unit of government, or what's different about Brookston that the grant doesn't go directly to the township?
Mr. Ismail.
Mr. Chair, Senator Bach, the responsibility of putting in the water supply falls on the reservation, not on this, community within the reservation of Monoman or the city of Brookston. This is their responsibility. This is their project.
Senator Bach.
Well, I'm pretty uncomfortable with this request. I mean, I'd like to do something for this part of the taconite relief area because we don't get many requests, but I can't remember us ever doing a grant to a local unit of government that is publicly anti-mining. It was the Fond du Lac Band who brought us raised the issue with the wild rice standard relative to polymet. And we've been working on that for, well, good grief, I was back in the House, I think it was so long ago. And that's troubling enough, but they have applied for a Class 1 airshed federal designation. If they get that, and they probably will, I don't think one's ever been denied by the federal government, they'll control the airspace over their reservation boundary. I don't know what that's going to mean for the Sappies, for anybody with an air permit where the prevailing wind is northwest. What does it do for Blandon? Does it allow them to continue to operate? I don't know. I know in Michigan, when the bands applied for a Class 1 permit over there, it took about 15 years, but they finally got it. And I don't think one's ever been rejected. So I'm pretty concerned about some of the positions that the tribal government, in this case, the local government we're giving the money to, coming to us. And worse yet, they also joined in or filed the lawsuit against Mintax tailings basin. And so essentially, their actions are putting Mintax operations at risk. I can't remember ever having a situation where a local government came to us that was anti-mining and asked for mining tax dollars. I can't understand it. I can't support it. We've never had this kind of problem, the kind of an issue come up with the Boys Fort Band, with the Grand Portage Band, that are clearly in the taconite relief area, and I'm absolutely all for helping them. But Fond du Lac, their tribal offices are down in Carleton County. They're not in the taconite relief area, but the anti-mining sentiment gives me some real anxiety about providing mining tax dollars to build anything. Now, if the money was going to the town of Brookston or to Monoman, different deal. But I don't know where we move from this. I don't know if anybody else has got any thoughts.
Any other comments from board members on this, on Senator Bach's concern?
Yeah,
Mr.
this
Chair?
is Mr. Chair.
Representative Lewick.
Yeah, yeah, I'd go beyond, I wouldn't describe it as sentiment. with respect to anti-mining, a consistent history of actions by that tribal government. And so I just tell you, and I have got the greatest amount of empathy and support for making sure that we do everything we can to help our Native American communities. But this is just at cross purposes with the very fundamental reason that we even have a taconite assistance area. Why we would, we will actually turn down things that don't make sense. And frankly, this doesn't make sense. Simply put, I can't support it. It just, there has to be another way, just like what I've seen on Lake Street. These people should have a local government, not a headquarters at another location, just like the people on Lake Street that pointed to the skyscrapers in downtown Minneapolis and said, we don't know who those people are, but they didn't help us. So anyway, yeah, I'm really got some consternation over this because I got a significant amount of Native American constituents in my district. They've always had issues with getting proper support. This is not, this is absolutely doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lewitt. Representative Sandstead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions. I'm curious, was this brought forth by one of the members, or was this something that came forth from the agents? Like, was the agency contacted is my first question. And then just for clarification, Brookston and Monoman, who are going to be served by these two communities, they're not both within the TAA, are they?
Mr. Chair, Representative Hanstead, to your first question, Fond du Lac reached out and applied through our system like any eligible entity within our service area, the agency service area. And both of these communities are within the taconite assistance area, and both would be serviced by this water source. And, just to give a little more detail, because I didn't put a lot of detail within the component of your board memo here. The water serving these folks is not drinkable. This water is contaminated at a level that, people would be sick going for treatment. So it met all the application met all the criteria and requirements. It was scored competitively, and to be honest with you, it scored above other projects that came. So from the state's policies and procedures in terms of competitive scoring, went through the same process we do any application, and it met all the requirements, and it scored high based on the fact that it's negatively impacting their communities in a big way.
Representative Sandstead.
No, thank you very much.
Representative Lislegard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is how is there a way to go through the local government of Benson in any way, shape, or form?
Mr. Ismail.
Mr. Chair, Representative Lislegard, there's probably other opportunities in terms of who could apply and be eligible for the grant. I think the bigger question at hand is why we would legally deny this application to say that you're not eligible, we're going to go through another eligible entity. That would be probably my first concern or red flag. And I would have to refer that to Al Betzik, our legal counsel, as to a process to say, sorry, we're not going to give you the money even though you scored competitively. you met all the requirements, but we don't want to give it to you because of your stance on mining.
Mr. Chair?
Representative Lizgard.
So I guess my question is Fond du Lac, where we currently would be giving the money, is not in our district. Is that a true statement?
Mr. Chair, Representative Lizgard, no, that is not true. A portion of their reservation is in our service area. So whether they're headquartered outside or not, people living and serving in our TAC assistance area or agency service area do fall within.
Representative Lizgard.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there
Mr.
any
Chairman?
other? Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, and I think this gets to Representative Sandsted's, one of her questions was about how, who initiated this request? And it came after the agency met with all 4 tribal governments that have common geography with the IRRB. And so Boys Fort, Grand Portage, Leech Lake, and this small piece of Fond du Lac. And we were, there was a governor's executive order requiring all state agencies to have face-to-face consultations with any tribal governments. Most of the state agencies are statewide other than us and the Met Council. So they had consultations with 11 bands. We had 4. When we met with them, our council, Al Betchika and I met, and I designated Al to be our tribal liaison. And when we met with all of them, we just went through our programs in general and left behind a schedule of what kind of programs we offer. And then very shortly thereafter, they reached out and Chris went down there and looked at this Brookston Water Project. So I want to be sure that there was a executive order that required us to meet with the tribal governments. And that has generated more interest from the tribal governments in our programs. There's no question about that. So, but I think it was unavoided because it was part of a governor's executive order. So, but the geography, especially here in Fond du Lac, is very small. So I don't know, I don't know if there'll be a lot of projects coming. We haven't gotten one from Grand Portage, and they're well aware of our programs, and we haven't received one. Now, we have done stuff with Grand Portage historically. We have done projects up there. And we recently did some stuff with Boys Fort, some of which involved broadband that was part of a bigger project. So, so I don't know if this is going to lead to more. I know Fond du Lac, and I totally understand the issue, but we're a little bit, I don't know what the legal ramifications are when we're a state agency and we offer a program and they meet the requirements and stuff. I just don't know. We'd have to, I don't know if we'll be challenged. If you don't recommend this, we won't do it. And then I don't know if we'll be challenged at all. And if we are, I don't know what the legal ramifications are. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Senator Thomasoni.
So I too am uncomfortable with this project. I don't remember us giving money to an entity that resides outside the district for a project that is in the district that they might be responsible for. And I am uncomfortable for all the reasons Senator Bach brought up. And I'm thinking the way to do this is because I do think the board is probably not comfortable with approving this project at this time, is that I'll make a motion to lay the project on the table, and so that when we approve the resolution, it doesn't go forward at this time. I think we need more information about how this is being proposed and what the ramifications are for the future. and how this could how it could affect the taconite revenues that we are in charge of distributing. So if nobody else has any comments on this, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to lay this on the table.
Thank you, Senator Tomassoni. Representative Sandsted just did come in with one other comment, so if we can hold off on the motion for just a minute, I'll let her comment.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question would be probably for the commissioner or maybe Mr. Ismail. Commissioner, in your opening comments, you indicated that we are going through a financial audit right now. Is there anything in this project, or maybe this is a question for Mr. Betchika too, but is there anything in this project that you think would be of concern in terms of an audit?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Sandsted, this is Al Betchika. Now, the audit period closed on February, I think, 29th of 2020. So this project would fall outside the scope of the audit. That's helpful.
Would it, Mr. Chair?
Representative Sandsted.
Assuming the audit had not closed, is there anything within the scope, I mean, whether we're audited, you know, just recently or if we're audited in the future, if this were to be examined, are there any questions legally in your mind that maybe need a little more work before we move ahead, you know, move ahead with it to feel comfortable before we could give it a resounding and assured, yes, we can pass this without a concern?
Mr. Betchika, Commissioner Phillips.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, Representative Sandsted, the answer to that legally, I think, is no. Excuse me, tribal governments have always been eligible for our programs. That doesn't mean that the board can't have concerns and can't go forward with a resolution striking the project, of course.
Representative Sandsted, or Commissioner.
Well, I would add that the two things we had a program evaluation, and that's is how you run your programs and why you have programs, are they effective and all that. We're going through a financial audit to make sure all the money has been appropriated properly. I don't believe there'll be any significant findings on our grant programs that would be of have any relevance to this discussion. I don't believe. And so I don't know if that has any bearing on this at all. So I just don't know if there's any ramifications when somebody applies, and I believe the board's is advisory, and you're giving the advice that you have concerns and you want to lay this on the table. I don't see why that would be problematic.
Representative Sandsted.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair? I don't know if you can see my hand and Senator Tomassoni's hand have been up for a while.
I'm not seeing any hands right now.
Okay, that's weird. Okay, well my hand, that's good to know. My hand is up, so I'll just raise my hand like this if I want to talk rather than.
I also have my phone handy, so if somebody wants to send a text, most of you have my phone number too.
Okay, great. Well, I was going to basically say what Senator Tomassoni said and what Commissioner Phillips just said is we're an advisory board. I mean, you know, what's the purpose of advice if you can't give your honest advice? So I think what we're hearing is that we're not comfortable with this particular request. That's our advice. And so either, you know, we separate that particular project from the other projects, you know, out of the resolution of support, you know, lay it on the table or whatever the method is of doing that. I think that's certainly within the advisory board's prerogative to do that.
Thank you, Representative Layham, and Senator Tomassoni.
Okay. Okay, am I still on? Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, then I will move to lay the Fond du Lac project on the table. And separated from the, because I believe the resolution includes all of the projects. So to separate this from the resolution.
Thomasoni moves to separate the Fond du Lac and the Lake Superior Chippewa project on the table, seconded by Representative Lehman. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, just,
Representative Lulick.
yeah, and I did talk with the commissioner about this earlier and did some more background on this. One of the critical things that I really am searching for here is, if you take a look, we are the only state element that's going to throw anything into this project based on what they've applied for. I need to know how many times have they been turned down by the federal government? How many times have they applied to the federal government? Obviously, how many times have they applied to the state of Minnesota other than the IRRB? In other words, appreciate the position the agency's in with the direction from the governor to go out and find new business. That's fine, but we need to know a lot of history about this. Is this something that the rest of the system has absolutely ignored, or is this something that is brand new? I mean, the understanding that their water is undrinkable, appreciate that. Yeah, as a society, we got to fix that. But I want to know what the federal government, what the tribal government, and what the rest of the state of Minnesota has been doing to help these people. This looks like another Lake Street situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lulick. Any other discussion? Senator Thomasoni renews his motion to lay this project on the table. Lorraine, will you please take the roll?
Senator Bob,
Yes.
Representative Eklund,
Yes.
Senator Acorn, Senator Acorn,
Yes.
Representative Lehman,
Yes.
Representative Lizard,
Yes.
Representative Lulick,
Yes.
Senator Rude,
Yes.
Representative Sandsted,
Yes.
Senator Thomasoni.
Yes.
We have 9 yeses.
Not seeing that motion lay on the table is passed. Back to the original resolution 20-026. Any further discussion?
Chairman Al Betchka, if
Betchka.
the change to the resolution, then there's 2 spots. The third whereas, the number would change from $2,184,900 to $1,963,157. Same change we made in the now therefore is resolved number, and then the project will be struck from the resolution. That's the resolution before the board at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Betchka. Mr. Betchka, while you're on there, do we need a motion to do this as amended then? Is that how we would need to do it?
Mr. Chairman, I'll leave that up to you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, yes, I would recommend that.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Representative Sandsted.
thank you. I would just, I'm happy to make the motion to move the resolution forward as amended. But I would also like to add that I would like to see this issue addressed quickly and in a very timely manner, because it is a matter of contaminated water. And I feel very strongly that all Minnesotans, deserve clean drinking water. And I'm happy to do whatever work we can to gather the information necessary. But again, I would just urge that this not be put off for any length of time.
Representative Sandsted, any other discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Sandsted, oh, Deputy Commissioner Metza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative Sandsted, thank you. And to your point, I think what we'll very likely have to do is just review, make sure that this project, has met the criteria, and then get back to the board with some information and our due diligence. as we learn of some of the things that you've suggested. And at that point, if there's still a qualifying project, I think we'd look to in-house legal counsel and get back to you with what our decision may be in moving forward at some point with this. So,
Yep, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Bach.
And board members have heard me say this before, but oftentimes local units of government come to the agency first. That's why we've got that money in the budget to help local governments write grants to other funding sources. And I don't know if they're eligible for PFA money, but it seems like they should be. And that's why we appropriate money to the PFA for projects just like this. So, Mr. Metza, please look into whether they have made any request over to deed to the Public Facilities Authority, because that's the logical place that this should be funded from.
Thank you, Senator Bach. Any further discussion? Representative Sandsted moves Resolution 20-026 as amended, seconded by Senator Rude. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Lorraine, will you please take the roll?
Senator Bach.
Yes.
Representative Eklund.
Yes.
Senator Eichhorn.
yes.
Representative Lehman.
Yes.
Representative Musligard.
Yes.
Representative Lewick.
Yes.
Senator Rude.
Yes.
Representative Sandsted.
Yes.
Senator Thomasoni.
Yes.
We have 9 yeses.
Thank you, Lorraine. 9 yeses, the resolution 20-026 passes. Next on the agenda, item number 6, Way of the Warriors Film Production Project, resolution 20-027. And presenting on that is Mr. Ismail.
Mr. Chair,
Ismail, please proceed.
members of the board. Mr. Chair, members of the board. Way of the Warriors Film Production Project. The purpose, the Department of Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation has an opportunity to bring a new film production to our service area. Film North has requested $350,000 in grant funding assistance from the agency to attract and support the production of Way of the Warriors in our region. The agency will reimburse the grantee 25% for all eligible film production expenditures incurred within our assistance area, defined in Minnesota Statute Section 273.1341, with a total cap of $350,000. Set in the Iron Range in northern Minnesota, Way of the Warriors is an inspirational story about a hockey town that unites to achieve the impossible. Upon learning that their local hero, history teacher, and coach has terminal cancer, the high school hockey team comes together with a shared mission to make his last season the best ever. Ultimately, Way of the Warriors is about a man who learns how to live while he's dying. It's a heartfelt story about the importance of family, faith, and community, with an emphasis on unity. The project is represented by William Morris Endeavor, which is one of the world's leading entertainment and media companies. The screenplay has been praised by some as the most respected agents, executives, producers, and talent in the film industry. Writer and producer John Montague's goal is to showcase the state of hockey and the home of hockey, Iron Range, in the most authentic, positive, and compelling manner possible. The economic impact, the production's economic impact on the Iron Range will be significant. Approximately $3 million of the film's anticipated $7.5 million budget will be spent locally for labor, locations, services, equipment, materials, supplies, food, and lodging. There will be jobs created in a variety of departments for local residents. There will be numerous opportunities for members of the community to get involved with the project, whether it's a job behind the camera or a role in front of the camera. Job creation, economic impact of film productions in Minnesota. According to the Motion Picture Association of America, each dollar spent on a film production in the U.S. results in $2 in economic activity. The spending multiplier calculated by the U.S. Department of Congress for Economic Analysis came January 16, 2012, was $1.65, and that has increased since then. The economic impact on North Country was estimated by the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development at $5 million. More than 70 temporary jobs were created. Minnesota workers employed directly by the production company. I also have record producer John Montague on the call here today to answer any questions you may have on this production request.
Thank you, Mr. Ismail. Any member questions? And we're just probably going to have to wing it because I'm not seeing any hand things. So, Senator Tomassoni.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a really good project. I actually read the script, and I'm not going to tell you how the movie turns out, but it's really a good result because Edina loses. So and it's a real authentic Iron Range story. Mr. Montague did a great job of writing it, and I think he's an Edina boy on top of it. So, but the fact is that when we get a movie up here, it generates a real lot of economic activity, and I know that they have the amount that was generated by North Country here, but there was also another one that was done last year or the year before in Chisholm that was called the Harbinger, and there were like 160 people working right up at City Chisholm at the City Hall in Chisholm where the studio was, and and many of them were local people, and they pay union wages, and they buy food and product from the local people, and so the economic impact of one of these movies is significant, and I for one think it's a really good idea, and we really don't put our money into it until they produce receipts and until they actually have. I believe this is correct. I think the commissioner, if you'll shake your head, yes, I think that's correct. Yeah, and so our money doesn't go into it until they actually spend the money, and then we reimburse them. So I think it's a very win-win situation, and I would love to see this happen. And I will move the project, Mr. Chairman, but I think we should also have Mr. Montague comment on it to let us know how it's going.
Thank you, Senator Tomassoni. Senator Rude.
Thank you. I have to agree with Senator Tomassoni. We've seen across the country how much economic impact bringing a film into a community brings. And so I know we've been working on trying to bring more of this industry into the state of Minnesota. And I think this is just a great project, and I know it will bring the economic returns that we're looking for.
Thank you, Senator Rude. Representative Lewick.
I'm sorry. No, I'm fine with the project.
Okay.
I guess I didn't push the right button here. My hand's down right now.
All right, so sounds good. Any other discussion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, and
Senator Bach.
maybe Senator Tomassoni knows the answer to this, but back when you chaired the Economic Development Committee, I know we put money at the Minnesota Film Board for the snow bait program. I'm wondering if there's still any money in that program. Has that been an ongoing appropriation, or where are we with that issue, or is that fund all dried up?
Tomassoni.
My recollection, we've been trying to do it, but that fund has not been keeping up with movie production in Minnesota, and I believe that we're missing out on a big potential economic impact all across the state by not funding it. I know that down in Georgia, they have about a $9 billion economic impact because of the movie incentives they have, and it's become the Hollywood of the East. And I would love to see us put some more money in it, but you're right, Senator Bach, we haven't kept up with it.
Well, my only concern is, and I support the project, but I wouldn't want to see the Minnesota Film Board not wanting to fund projects on the Iron Range because IRRB will do it, and they save all the state money for projects in the metropolitan area. That's my concern, is that the Film Board sends projects north and say, go get your money from them. You're not going to get state money if there is some money in that account.
I agree with you totally.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Phillips. I'll get the name. I'll get the title right yet here.
So we work in conjunction with the film board. I just want to assure everybody, they look at money being spent in the whole state. And so we've worked out a deal with them where we are a little bit of a sweetener, very small sweetener for projects. So if there was funding, I would assume that Way of the Warriors would apply for film board money, because ours is a little different what we're doing here. And it's just money spent solely in the TACnet assistance area. And so we're hoping that they can leverage the state money, and we're making sure that what Senator Bach pointed out doesn't happen. And I'd like you to hear from John Montague when we're all done with our questions, because I'd like him to provide a little update on how he's doing and where we're at and timelines and things like that.
Any other questions? Mr. Montague.
Thanks, Chairman. Yeah, and thanks everybody for letting me participate in the call today. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Just a way of providing an overview. You know, really the dynamic here that we're dealing with, and where Commissioner Phillips and some of the others on this call have been instrumental in helping us overcome just a huge obstacle, and that is that this screenplay that I wrote, that was a very heartfelt story, set on the range, you know, telling the story of a Minnesota hockey family and town that comes together. It's a story about unity. It's a story that I think is going to really resonate in the world that we're living in today, that's become kind of increasingly divided. And I think everybody recognizes that the story, you know, really will connect with audiences. And we're fortunate that it has attracted some A-list talent to the project. And the biggest talent agency in the world, William Morris Endeavor. That said, even with all those great elements that the project has attracted, there was just a huge push to move the entire production to Canada. And it's just pure economics, because Canada provides such a generous tax incentive to film production. So we could have saved somewhere in the ballpark of about 40% right off the top of our budget by moving the whole thing to Canada. And the Snowbait program that has been created by the Minnesota Film Board provides a certain amount of cushion and a certain amount of assistance, but it's nowhere even close to what Canada offers. So our producers were having a really hard time reconciling my demand to shoot this movie in Minnesota just because of the economics. And so between the incentive that's going to come from the Minnesota Film Board, with an addition to this incentive that hopefully will come from the IRRB, there is still an enormous gap between what we're going to get here in Minnesota and what we could have got in Canada. So I've had folks like the former owner of the Minnesota Wild, Bob Nagley, and others step forward to personally pledge their own private money to help us fill this kind of financing gap. You know, it's just a matter of pure economics, and that the incentives outside of Minnesota, if we go to Michigan, or if we go to Canada, or if we go to the state of New York, you know, we're definitely not going to shoot this movie in Atlanta, in Georgia, or in other southern markets, but there are plenty of northern markets that we could film this movie in that offer much greater incentives to do so. And it's been a fight for me since day one to keep this movie in Minnesota. And this is what's been instrumental in helping me win that fight.
Thank you, Mr. Montague. Any questions for Mr. Montague? All right, thank you. So Senator Thomasoni renews his motion for
And Mr. Chairman, let me just say, let me just say to John that, and thank you for keeping it in Minnesota and not succumbing to the pressures of going to a different place, because I think it belongs on the Iron Range because it's about the Iron Range, and you get the feel for it right here. And so I'm really happy with the fact that you're trying your best to do the film right here up on the Iron Range.
Thank you, Senator Thomasoni. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, Senator Thomasoni renews his motion for resolution 20-027, seconded by Representative Sandsted. Any further discussion? Lorena, would you please take the roll?
Senator Bach,
Yes.
Representative Eklund,
Yes.
Senator Eichhorn,
Yes.
Representative Lehman,
Yes.
Representative Lisliger,
Yes.
Representative Luick,
Yes.
Senator Rude,
Yes.
Representative Sandsted,
Yes.
Thomasoni.
Yes.
We have 9 yeses.
Thank you, Lorraine. Resolution 20-027 passes. Item number 7 on the agenda, the FY20 Trails Projects, Resolution 20-028. Mr. Plummer.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I have 3 grant projects to present today. The purpose of the Regional Trails Grant Program is to provide funding to assist with design, engineering, and the construction of various types of projects. The total Iron Range resources and rehabilitation investment into these 3 projects is $466,350 for a total investment of $1,336,058. That's a leverage of 1 to 2. The first project is to the city of Virginia for $250,000. The total project amount is $895,614. And this project consists of the total reconstruction of the existing Bailey Lake Trail and the construction of a new fishing dock. The trail will be 10 feet wide and approximately 1.5 miles long. Besides the trail, it also includes decorative lighting, signage, stormwater control, fencing, landscaping, and the trail will be a public trail for walking, hiking, and biking traffic. And it will also connect to the Mesabi Trail. The second project is to the city of Orr. The grant request is for $196,350, and the total project investment in this project is $392,700. This project is to improve and reconstruct the existing Orr Boardwalk, which was originally constructed in 1993. It's been a popular boardwalk trail for local residents and tourists in the Orr area, but now is at the end of its useful life and must be rebuilt using the same footprint as the old trail. The bog walk leads visitors 1/2 mile through an ash bog to the shoreline of the Pelican River. The bog walk accommodates walkers of all ages and will be built to ADA standards. The city of Orr estimates that 24,000 people use the bog walk annually. The third project is to a nonprofit organization called the Friends of Sac Zim Bog. The grant request is $20,000 and the total project investment is $47,744. This project includes the construction of a 1,200-foot long raised bog boardwalk and would help get visitors to the Sac Zim into the bog on a safe, dry, and enjoyable trail. The first bog walk was built 2 years ago and has been a success. At least 4,377 visitors from 45 states and 5 foreign countries visited the Sac Zim Bog and came through the Welcome Center during the winter of 2018 and 19. The new boardwalk would benefit both residents in the area, visiting school groups, and tourists. The town of Meadowlands is a partner in the annual Birding Festival and supports the project. I'd be happy to answer any questions on the 3 projects, Mr. Chair and Board.
Thank you, Mr. Plummer. Any member questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Thomasoni.
Mr. Chairman, I just have to comment on the Sac Zim Bog one because I don't think people actually know what a big deal it is. And here's my my Sac Zim Bog sweatshirt that I got at the last time that I was down there for the Sac Zim Bog Festival. And to give you an idea of what a big deal this is, there was a movie that was done several years ago now, and it was called The Big Year. It was back in 2011. The stars of the movie were Owen Wilson, Jack Black, and Steve Martin. And they were all birders going around the world looking for different types of birds. And one of the places they stopped was the Sac Zim Bog, and that was right in the movie. And it was pretty neat to see my district right in the middle of this great big movie on this big screen. And I had absolutely no idea that was going to happen when I went to see the movie. In fact, I'm not even sure why I went to see a movie by the name of The Big Year, but it was kind of fun in the end. And so I'm happy that we're putting funding into that trail, or into that little bridge there.
Thank you, Senator Thomasoni. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Senator Bach moves resolution 20-028, seconded by Senator Rude. Any further discussion? Green, will you please take the roll?
Senator Bach,
Yes.
Representative Eklund,
Yes.
Senator Acorn,
Yes.
Representative Lehman,
Yes.
Representative Lislegard,
Yes.
Representative Luick,
Yes.
Senator Rude,
Yes.
Representative Sandsted,
Yes.
Senator Thomasoni.
Yes.
We have 9 yeses.
Thank you, Lorraine. With 9 yeses, resolution 20-028 passes. Item number 8 on the agenda, Iron Range Higher Education Account, resolution 20-029. Mr. Smith.
Unmute, Roy.
I too was trying to figure out how to work things here. I'll start over. It is great to see everyone. The Iron Range Higher Education Committee is a legislatively created committee charged to advise the Commissioner of the Department of Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation Board on providing higher education programs in the taconite assistance area. For those of you who are not familiar with the membership, the committee has 8 members. They are Commissioner Phillips, and then 4 members, legislative members of the agency board. It's currently chaired by Representative Julie Sandsted. Senator Thomasoni is on the committee, Representative Eklund, and Representative Lehman as well. It provides for an appointee of the president of the University of Minnesota. That spot is filled right now by Dr. Rolf Wieberg of NRRI. There is a spot on the committee for the president of the Northeast Higher Education District, and that is currently Dr. Michael Ryich. And also a spot on the committee for an appointee of the governor of the state of Minnesota. And that individual is Julie Marinucci, who's an engineer with St. Louis County and has a wide variety of experience in engineering, from mining to consulting work with SEH and others. So that's what the committee looks like. The Iron Range Higher Education Committee met on Wednesday, May 27th, via Zoom to hear program updates and consider 2 funding requests. The committee has approved an expenditure of up to $860,000 of Iron Range Higher Education account funds to provide a grant to the Northeast Higher Education District for use by Iron Range Engineering Program for the continuation of the higher education program that, in collaboration with private industry, allows students to earn a Bachelor's of Science degree in engineering from Minnesota State University, Mankato. The committee also approved an expenditure of up to $820,000, which is bifurcated into 2 phases, $370,000 in year 1 and $450,000 in year 2, for the implementation of the Northeast Higher Education District President's Cabinet plans to merge the 5 independently accredited colleges of the Northeast Higher Education District into 1 accredited college. This initiative is known as Vision Northeast, and the 1 college model is planned to begin operation in the fall of 2022. The $820,000 investment by the agency is part of a $1.5 million overall project that is also funded by investments of approximately $475,000 from the system office and another $245,000 from the NEHEAD campuses. The intended outcomes of the restructuring are to, of course, maintain the individuality and vitality of the Northeast Higher Education District campuses, to create more seamless learning experiences for students across the region, increase student enrollment and success measures through a comprehensive and cohesive enrollment management plan, expand existing academic program regionally and develop new programming, advance regional business, industry, university, and K-12 partnerships, improve instructional efficiency and streamline operational processes, and leverage the capacity and flexibility of a larger college and maintain individual campus identities. I'll stand for any questions, and I'm sure the members of the committee are available as well for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any member questions on Resolution 20-029? Seeing no questions, I don't see anybody's hands raised. Representative Sandsted moves Resolution 20-029, seconded by Representative Lehman. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Representative Lehman.
Yeah, I guess rather than just pass this in silence, and maybe Representative Sandsted would have a couple comments too. I just want to assure people that we had a really good, thorough discussion, an excellent meeting of the Higher Ed Committee, and lots of questions. And I mean, these are really tough times for higher ed and our NEHEAD district. And so I think I was encouraged to see that our engineering program is continuing and the Bell program is continuing in light of some of the really significant challenges they're facing with COVID and so on. So just anybody tuning in and wondering why there's no discussion, we just want to assure people that we had a really good discussion and some good response from the provost, or the president of Northeast Higher Education, as well as the heads of the engineering program and Bell program and so on. So just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lehman. Representative Sandsted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to echo everything that Representative Lehman said, and I want to give a shout out to the president and to the heads of the departments. This was probably one of the more in-depth conversations we had. I walked away from there feeling very satisfied with the information and very pleased to see, forward movement happening amidst a time that's kind of hit the brakes for everybody. So just a shout out and a congratulations on the good work, and looking forward to information to be, continuing to come forth, and hopefully we'll just continue to make the progress that we've been making, even though we're living in a time of uncertainty right now. So thanks.
Thank you, Representative Sandsted. Seeing no further discussion, Representative Sandsted renews her motion on Resolution 20-029, seconded by Representative Lehman. Lorraine, will you please take the roll?
Senator Bach,
Yes.
Representative Eklund,
Yes.
We lost you, Lorraine.
okay. Representative Lehman,
Yes.
Representative Lislegard,
Yes.
Representative Luick,
Yes.
Senator Rude,
Yes.
Representative Sandsted,
Yes.
Senator Thomasoni.
Yes.
We have 8 yes, 1 excused.
Lorraine, I'm on the call. You might have called me when you dropped for a minute, but I would be recorded as a yes as well. This is Senator Eichhorn.
Okay, thank you. We have 9 yeses.
Thank you, Lorraine. With a vote of 9-0, Resolution 20-029 passes. Item number 9 on the agenda, Giants Ridge Recreation Area Tax, Use of Proceeds, Resolution 20-030. Ms. Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, board members, in front of you, we have the Giants Ridge Recreational Tax Amenities Proposal for $174,000. The Giants Ridge Recreation Area Special Tax, which includes admissions and recreation, lodging, food and beverage, which was passed by the Minnesota State Legislature and implemented by the City of Biwabik back in 2010, is dedicated to the construction, renovation, improvements, expansion, or maintenance of the public recreational facilities located within the City of Biwabik that lie within the Giants Ridge Recreation Area. Under current law, the commissioner, after consultation with the board, must approve expenditures of the tax revenue. The tax revenue balance as of April 2020 is $378,745. The Giants Ridge Management Team, in conjunction with the Giants Ridge Master Association president, provided the agency with the tax use recommendations. The 4 recommended projects will enhance the amenities and recreation of the region's residents and visitors. The first project is maintenance of the mountain bike trails and climbing wall for $54,000. The expanded children's play area for $35,000. Enhance the existing hiking trail that connects the Chalet campus to the villas for $35,000. And construct a walking path and interpretive loop at the top of the mountain for $50,000. Past projects that have been approved include the climbing wall, children's outdoor play area, gravity mountain bike trails, and hiking trail design. And the total investment of those projects was $569,000. Any questions by any of the board members? I'll be happy to entertain those.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Any questions or discussion from board members? Seeing no questions or discussions, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Representative Lislegard moves Resolution 20-030, seconded by Senator Thomasoni. Any further discussion or comments? Maureen, you can take the roll.
Senator Bach,
Yes.
Representative Eklund,
Yes.
Senator Eichhorn,
Yes.
Representative Lehman,
Yes.
Representative Lislegard,
Yes.
Representative Luick,
Yes.
Senator Rude,
Yes.
Representative Sandsted,
Yes.
Senator Thomasoni.
Yes.
We have 9 yeses.
9 yeses, resolution 20-030 passes. Thank you. Item number 10 on the agenda, FY21 budget, resolution 20-031. Mr. Scuffy. Mr. Scuffy, I don't know if you're muted or what's going on there, but please proceed when we figure out the technology.
For the record, I hate Zoom.
We're all getting that way, Senator Tony.
Oh, Mr. Chair,
Representative Lehman.
I just had just a suggestion if we're waiting for Mr. Scuffy. We received in our email the last couple of days a pie chart that I had requested. And it's interesting. It might be a little difficult to understand, but I'm wondering, I think it'd be helpful for us to place in context the budget we're looking at. This is an operating budget, but there's another about 40% of total revenues that come to us as designated funds. And I'm wondering if, Mr. Chair, if you would entertain the idea of just spending a couple minutes having somebody put that pie chart up and talk to us about designated funds versus the operating budget that we're going to be looking at today.
Representative Lehman, maybe we can do that after this resolution under item 11 for other. So if we can get staff to take care of that.
Either before or after, that's great.
Thank you. Mr. Scuffy, are you available? Lorene or somebody from staff, can we try to figure out what's going on here?
Yeah.
Bob Scuffy, are you having problems or?
Bob, if you could hear, you could try to call in separately on the office phone and.
Well, he looked like he was muted for a while.
Bob, if you can hear me, why don't you try getting off and coming back on? Maybe that's what he just did.
Mm-hmm.
He's there now. Oh, there.
Maybe while he's doing that, I can just, well, here he comes. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yes, finally.
Great. Go ahead, Bob.
Welcome back, Mr. Scuffy.
Okay, I will share my screen. Are we there?
Yes, you're up.
We're up, Mr. Scuffy.
Mr. Chair, you can see my screen?
Yes, yes, please proceed.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I am happy to present the fiscal year 21 budget. I will start just on page 4. That's in the actual, budget packet in the board packet. So we'll start with our 21 carry forward in, 10.7 estimated carry forward in right now. Our current resources, our taconite production taxes, had a nice significant gain from last year, being that we just ended our 3-year average, that wasn't the best. Now we're back up to full capacity, 25.3 million for operating production taxes. Our investment earnings that's our interest that we make monthly on our appropriations, and that is run directly through the State Board of Investment, and they automatically, post to our appropriations monthly. Our loan portfolio is up $3.3 million revenue estimate. Facility revenues, Giants Ridge, that's mainly consists of, we do have a little bit of leases and some small miscellaneous stuff that we receive at the Avith office. 5.3. Occupation tax for Carlton and Kuchiching, that's based on the prior year production, and that we're just the fiscal agent, and it's in formula that, that it runs through. We get our $14,000 for being the fiscal agent, and that goes out to the Carlton and Kuchiching counties for their economic development program. And then the DJJ Trust, 12.2 is needed to offset the expenditures that will go over on the bottom. So we have our projects, our programs, Giants Ridge, and our fixed costs for the agency, for payroll, travel, keeping the lights on, etc. So I'll start with our project budget. Development projects stayed the same, 5.5 million. Public Works, using the TEPF money, down $1 million to 5.5 from last year. But that doesn't mean that we can't come back to the board in the future, if more projects come, because we can always do a budget amendment. The Public Works DJJ Trust, $2 million, stayed the same. Regional Trails down a little bit to 2 million, just based on applications. And then I'm going to have Matt has a one-pager that we can explain the new Taconite Area Business Relief Loan Program and the Community Relief Grant Program. I will stop my share and let Matt pick up and share his one-pager with you.
Mr. Chair, board members, are you seeing my screen?
Thank you, Mr. Schoberg. I'm seeing it. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. The two programs here that I'm going to briefly introduce, the Taconite Area Business Relief Loan Program, the Taconite Area Community Relief Loan Program, came as a result of what we were hearing from our local businesses, and Commissioner Phillips had made the decision early on that just to kind of wait and see how things shake out during the current pandemic. And at this point, we are bringing forward the two programs that are designed to help provide some relief to businesses as they prepare to reopen in some cases, or as they move forward and as things open up here. And the first one is the Taconite Area Business Relief Loan Program. And we've made the decision to request to pursue a program that will be administered for the agency by the Northeast just the Entrepreneur Fund. Now they changed their name. And the reason that we are looking to utilize them is to use their infrastructure and their loan platform. They are set up there to originate and service more of these higher volume, lower amount loans than we are. Frankly, we simply don't have the manpower to originate the 200 or so loans that we hope come as a result of this program in the next 6 months to a year. How this would look is it would be a non-recourse loan to the Entrepreneur Fund for what we're requesting, $5 million in funding for the program. The loan would be secured by the individual receivables. The Entrepreneur Fund would do the due diligence, and we would approve each individual loan request. The funding is intended to supplement the other state and federal programs that are out there. We would serve a more broad base of businesses in our region than we do through our typical programs. Basically, all businesses in our service territory that have been in operation for a minimum of 1 year would be eligible for the program. And again, it's to help businesses that intend to reopen if they're currently closed. There are the loan terms. This is designed to be very attractive, patient money to provide a boost of working capital to the businesses. We have had a significant amount of discussion, but we are proposing that the loans be repaid at the 2% interest rate over a term of 5.5 years, which would be 5 years after an initial 6-month forbearance period. The Entrepreneur Fund would be responsible for the loan administration, and they would repay the agency the principal repayments. We have had discussions and are in agreement on a loan or a fee structure that recognizes the upfront work through a 5% origination fee, but also recognizes their ongoing efforts that they'll have to put into administration of the loans, as they will be able to, or they will retain the interest repayments on the loans. We hope to roll this out by the 1st of next month, and the money would be available until it's fully advanced, or December 31st of 2021. Would the board's prerogative be to ask questions on this program, or should I do the next and do them combined? I guess
Mr. Schoberg, Senator Thomasoni has his hand up, so I'll go to him and then you can go to the next one. Senator Thomasoni.
Okay, I could wait, but I'll just make the comment that I just want to compliment the staff and the commissioner for coming up with these programs, because I think with the way these businesses have been out of business for as long as they've have and are making an attempt to get back into business and get back to work, and who knows how people are going to react to going back to these shops and places that have been closed for a long time. They may find it very, very difficult to do business at the beginning. And I think it's incumbent upon us, after we've found out that these businesses have done whatever they can in regards to the other federal and state programs, that we might have to be a little bit of a hand up for them. And so I just want to say I support these programs.
Thank you, Senator Thomasoni. Please proceed, Mr. Schober.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next program is designed to provide some funding to communities to be used in combination with funding that they would provide to make loans to businesses within their communities. We specifically have left this fairly open-ended to let the communities, the successful communities that apply for the program, to be able to utilize the grant funding to make loans to their businesses, basically as they see fit, with some very loose guidelines. We hope to begin the application process tomorrow, roll it out. We're preparing, assuming of course the programs are approved as part of the budget today. We would encourage cooperative applications. For instance, if the communities on the east end of the range would like to apply through the East Range Joint Powers Board, that would make it a stronger application, we believe, and how we've set it up, than them applying on individually. We hope to have the money, the grant awards out by late July of 2020. So in the next 6 weeks or so, the communities would be responsible to report quarterly to the agency, and they will have to show us that the funds that they received through us were deployed by, excuse me, that's a typo there. That would be June 30th of 2021. So basically they'd have a year to deploy the funds, or if they didn't, they would have to repay what they would receive back to the agency. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Schoberg. Any member questions on these two proposed programs? I'm not seeing a hand, so Mr. Scuffy, do you have any?
Chair?
Senator Eichhorn.
I didn't have my hand up.
This is Representative Lislegard. I texted you.
Sorry, Representative Lislegard.
Just one question, you know, I really appreciate the programs and stuff like that, but is it possible that they could turn into a forgivable loan over a period of time?
Mr. Chair, Representative Lislegard, we have had a great deal of discussion over that specific issue, and at the end of the day, for a couple of reasons. Number one, once you start getting into you know, the forgiveness, or take that a step farther to making grants, you know, there's issues with, if you will, picking winners and losers. We certainly recognize that the businesses that have been impacted, and just about everyone's business has been impacted, having money that you didn't have to repay back would be much more attractive than having it, taking on additional debt. But to do that in deference to what we anticipate as demand on the program, we felt it ultimately that it was best to offer loan funds with very favorable repayment terms.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Lislegard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I know the state is, we are working very, very hard to create a grant program across the state. And, you know, I think the first one up is $30 million for Greater Minnesota and $30 million for the 7-county metro. Any individual that qualifies for a grant, which we hope a lot of these businesses in our region get them, will that knock them down in any way, shape, or form in the criteria or how they're ranked if they receive any state grants?
Mr. Chair, Representative Lislegard, we would highly encourage businesses to utilize all the state and federal programs, and those that exist now and hopefully the new ones to come. And no, it would not impact them at all. In fact, we are, you know, this money is intended to supplement other sources of funding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions, Mr. Schoberg? Thank you, Mr. Schoberg. Any,
thank you.
Mr. Scuffy, do you have more on this presentation?
Yes.
Mr. Scuffy?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm gonna call my screen back up. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you fine.
Okay. Just making sure. So that completes then the total projects. We're requesting $22 million. So then we get into the program area and our program grants, which includes the occupation tax too for Carlton and Cooch. But I'm going to scroll down to page 7, as this is, you know, just the high level of our total program grants, and just give a quick overview, go through our programs. So community development, that consists of our commercial redevelopment program, $1 million. Our residential redevelopment for $275, our development partnerships for $625, the downtown streetscapes for $200,000, the research and planning $50,000, the Burr program $1 million. So that would be our total community development grant programs. And then we get into our workforce development, $350 there. Mineland Rack this year, $1,292,500. This does include now for half of the Canisteo and the Hill Annex pit problems that are going on, for the 442.5 is included in that figure. Our cultural and tourism program, the $350 for our normal grant program. And then we have Minnesota Discovery Center in there for their annual operating grants that we give, $1,450,000. The commissioner program for $300,000, our application fund for $30,000. And that gives us a total of $6.9 million for our programs. And I'll just go back to the budget page again. So then I get to our Giants Ridge. Again, we're asking for $10.8 million this year. Another capital request of $1.220 is on the books. And then, like I mentioned before, our operations and the development fixed costs for operating the place, the 7.5, that includes the 2.5 increase that everyone will be getting on July 1st, approved through the unions, and a projected 7.6% insurance rate increase that came through MMB. Other than that, $47.9 million budget, and the big difference is basically for those 2 new programs that we'll be providing due to the state of the world right now. So are there any questions about the budget?
Thank you, Mr. Scuffy. We're checking for questions. Any member questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Representative Lehman.
Yeah, a couple of questions. One is on the program grants, just looking at increases in development partnerships, an additional, I think it's 125,000. And I don't know if that's related to also a new area called research and planning for 50,000. Could somebody just talk about what's happening there? Who maybe a new partner that came under development partnerships, or what the research is about?
Yes, I
Mr.
would.
Scuffy.
I'd be happy to.
Or Commissioner Phillips.
If I could expand on that. So the development partnerships, last year we had a one-time entrepreneurial effort up in Two Harbors that we funded on a one-time basis. And this year we have a one-time request from the Entrepreneur Fund. This is separate from the program we just talked about, but they're raising a $2.5 million fund that will be leveraged up to a $25 million fund using a federal program called Community Development Finance Institution program. And they are one of the few CDFIs in northeastern Minnesota. So they have the ability to turn $2.5 million essentially into a 25 million in loans. And we've resisted passing through money from the agency to any other lender on a direct basis. But this gives us an opportunity to leverage quite a bit of money. So we'd be part of the 2.5 million. And I think there's 350,000 in this budget, this development partnership budget. And that's what's making up some of that difference. So we lost a program and we gained a new one, but these are one-time deals. So I don't anticipate this would be in next year's budget. And we looked at where they're making these loans, and they're primarily in the taconite assistance area. And so we're recommending that investment. And then the research and planning budget, this is something that we had years ago, is that we run into opportunities in the natural resource area where we can partner with like NRI on something. In fact, this year, we're working with a company that out of the North Shore that is doing work with natural products from plant materials, particularly birch. And they're working with NRI, and we had to come up, with a matching grant for the university to be able to do the research. And that research is actually, some of it is around the COVID stuff, using natural products to fight as a therapy for COVID-19. So we are going to try a very modest $50,000 budget so that we can entertain some of these natural resource-based research projects, or anything else that comes down that makes sense. And then obviously we report out on these to the board when we make them, like we do with the loans you give us authority for.
Representative Lehman.
Yeah, well, thank you, Commissioner. That's very helpful, and it's interesting to hear about new works and new partnerships. The second part of my question, it's probably my old drumbeat, but I guess every time we talk about the budget, I express a desire to have some time just to talk with the new management team at Giants Ridge about what their strategy is going forward and how they are working to minimize the subsidy. We haven't had that yet, and I think board members would be interested in doing that.
Commissioner Lehman, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Lehman, or Representative Lehman, we had to push off our meeting with them because of the COVID thing, but we have it scheduled now electronically, I believe.
Yes.
So after we have our meeting with them, we could do a Zoom with the board in the future, maybe at the next meeting if you would like. We could have them in front of the board. They'd be happy to do that. We've been a little frustrated by not being able to get our meeting. And some of it has been, so I wanted to preface the budget with this earlier, but then we were struggling to get the sound working. I didn't want to butt in. So before we did our budget this year, we did our annual program evaluation. So we had to do, every one of these programs had a evaluation done, a peer evaluation, and then a management evaluation done on the effectiveness of each of the programs. That's why some went up slightly, some went down slightly, based on what we learned from the managers of each individual program. And then that had to be consistent with our strategic plan, which once again, we've been frustrated because we haven't been able to publish that because they were waiting to publish it with the governor's One Minnesota plan, all the agency strategic plans. So we have ours. It's just under wraps temporarily. And again, the virus and now the unrest in the metro has set back the plans of the governor rolling out his One Minnesota with all the different agency strategic plans that are consistent with it. But you can see some of that coming out in the budget and in the project approvals, where we're doing more with childcare. For example, you saw the Silver Bay project and stuff. So we are consciously using our existing programs in such a way that are consistent with the governor's One Minnesota and our own strategic plan. So I assure you, there will be a time where you will be getting more of this information when it can be released.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Representative Lehman.
Yep, that's very helpful. Thank you, thank you, Commissioner Phillips. I think, who was it who just said they hate Zoom? It's unfortunate we have to have that meeting on Zoom, but I guess we have to do what we have to do. It'd just be really good to have, it would be great to have an in-person, face-to-face meeting where we could really engage in dialogue, but we'll take what we can get, I guess. So thank you.
Well, I think I lost Zoom again, so I'm back on the telephone. So thank you, Representative Lehman. Is there any other questions on the budget? Seeing none. Senator Bach moves resolution 20-031, seconded by Senator Eichhorn. Any further discussion? Lorraine, would you please take the roll?
Senator Bach,
Yes.
Representative Eklund,
Yes.
Senator Eichhorn,
Yes.
Representative Lehman,
Yes.
Representative Lisgard,
Yes.
Representative Luick,
Yes.
Senator Rude,
Yes.
Representative Sandsted,
Yes.
Senator Thomasoni.
Yes.
We have 9 yeses.
9 yeses. Resolution 20-031 has passed. Thank you, everybody. Item number 11. Oh, go ahead.
So two things. I just want to, in front of all the board members, thank all the staff for doing these program evaluations via Zoom on every program you saw and putting this budget together. There was a tremendous amount of work done by the staff in a short, compact period of time, a lot of extra hours, a lot of everything. I just want to thank them publicly for that because this is being recorded for the public view. And then secondly, Representative Lehman asked about the pie chart. So I asked Mary Ann Buskey to put it up. So she'll share the pie chart, or Lorene will, and then Mary Ann will go over how we generated that. It'll just take a couple of minutes, so we'll get out of here in a few minutes. Mary Ann?
Representative Eklund, board members, thank you, Commissioner. Lorraine, do you happen to have that available?
There. Are you seeing it?
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So Representative Lehman posed a question while we were prepping the board on the FY21 budget. Where are all the resources in the agency going relative to strategy? And that was sort of the prompt behind this sort of 2-layered pie chart. You've just approved the operating expenses in the budget at $47.9 million. And when you look at the pie chart, you can see those operating expenses in the outer ring. And when you look at just operating expenses by strategy area, you've got a layout of 34% of spending in the community side, 54% on the community side, 35% in the business category, 1% in workforce, and 10% in fixed costs. But as you remember from our budget review, Mr. Scuffy provides you a revenue worksheet called All Revenues, and we of course get in more production taxes each year than we spend in operations. There's the designated production tax spending that occurs. It's mandated, and we have got ongoing costs or designated costs that fall into those categories. And they do also really clearly align with the sort of the goals of the agency and the strategic areas in which we do our work. So when you add those to the story, it really does change the percentage of spending in those areas. So what we did is then, layered back into the center of the pie chart, combined with the exterior of the pie chart, the designated funds that fall into into business and workforce spending. And that boosts our spending on the business side, because of course TEDF is in there, as well as our DJJ deposit into the corpus. And those are designated for businesses. So the bottom line is, when you take the designated accounts and the operating accounts together, our spending by strategy area looks quite a bit different. Community spending is 34%. Please remember, we keep Giants Ridge in that group right now. The business spending is 44% of total spending. Workforce is up to 16%. And then the fixed cost goes down to 6%. Is that helpful?
Thank you, Ms. Bushka. Any members' questions?
I have a question.
Representative Lehman.
Yeah, this is really helpful. This is the kind of, the way I'd like to see information is how are the revenues, how much are we getting into the agency for our work, and how does it relate to the overall strategy? When you look at designated funding, my gosh, it's almost 40% of the total. Almost 30 million out of the 77 million. So we just finished approving a budget for 47 million, but in fact, 77 million plus is coming through the agency for the work. So with that statement, I also have a question. Does the designated amount that's going into workforce, is that where you are putting the education funds, the collaborative funds and so on? Is that where
Yes.
higher ed?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Lehman, that category would include the Iron Range Higher Education Account, 2 series of educational revenue bonds in 2006 and 2013, and the Iron Range School Collaboration Account.
Representative Lehman.
Yeah, I think that having a visible pie chart like this would be helpful for us when we have we've had, the reason there's been minimal discussion again is we've had the opportunity for small group discussion on budget. So we got most of our questions answered. But I would just suggest that when we do have discussions on budget, that we include all the money, because I think that's the time where we should take a look and say, is this the right percentage? There's a lot of money, designated funds that are going into, education and higher ed and so on. We should be, not just looking at the operating budget, but I think we should be looking at the whole picture. Thank you.
Commissioner. Oh, I thought you had something to say.
I would agree. We'll try to make that. I think I agree with your assessment. I always look at the whole pie myself. When we're frustrated sometimes on community development projects and stuff, when we see the kind of money we're putting in K-12 education and stuff, and if you don't look at that, you don't realize it. You don't look at the whole pie. So I agree with you.
Thank you.
Representative Sandsted.
Thanks. My comments don't have anything to do with this, although I just want to echo Representative Lehman in saying I appreciate the pie chart. It's an extremely helpful tool for me. I just wanted to thank everybody for the work that they've done putting this Zoom meeting together. And then I also wanted to say, I know that it's no surprise Representative Lehman has announced that she is not seeking re-election, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for your leadership on this board, for the great questions that you have. And just, I wanted to wish you the very best in the future moving forward.
Thank you, Representative Sandsted. Any other member questions or comments?
I have to answer that.
Okay, Representative Lehman.
I have to say thank you, Representative Sansom, but you're not done with me yet. Hopefully I'll still be with you on the next couple of board meetings, but thank you all. I mean,
I realize that. Just wanted to say wish you the very best.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, and I want to thank staff for putting this together and doing their absolute best to make this work for us. I don't want to name names because I'll forget somebody, but I'm proud of our agency and proud of our staff that's working there. You've done a fantastic job putting this together. So thank you. And if there's no other questions or comments, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.